Well, you didn't start the road trip the way you wanted to. Justin Verlander still looks a little rusty, but Yanner Diaz looked like he was ready to play. And what's this we hear about Kyle Tucker? Did he really have a greater injury than what we anticipated or what we were told? Let's talk about it on tonight's Locked On Astros.
Yainer Diaz, this is Locked On Astros.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Astros, your daily Astros podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric the Man Huysman and Brett H-Town Wheelhouse Chancey.
We are Locked On Houston Astros, and we hope that you join us for a daily Locked On Astros podcast. My name is Eric Huysman. You can find me on X at Eric Talkstros. You can find the show at Locked On Astros, your team every day. Brett, where can you find you at?
They can find me at H-Town Wheelhouse on X, Instagram, and TikTok. They can find me at Stros411 on X and on Facebook. They can find me at Back to the Bullpen on X, on Instagram, on YouTube, and iHeartRadio. Look, I'm always positive, always Stros.
Guys, thank you for making us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. Go and check out the Locked On Astros podcast. Go and check out Michael Connor with the Locked On Astros podcast as well. And go and make us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, and go and subscribe to us. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started today. I know the Texans are going to be starting pretty soon, I believe this Sunday. So I know Astros are getting excited about the postseason. Football fans are getting excited about football, but I know October is for the Astros, and it seems like that with 7 straight ALCSs. And it just seems like the Astros are just a team of destiny once again. And we thought that this would be an easy series, and it didn't look that way against the Reds. And it kind of, we didn't get a chance to talk about it yesterday, but when you play a team like the Reds that doesn't necessarily have a bad record, but it's not the worst team in baseball, it's kind of one of those trap series. And it just seems like Justin Verlander set a tone very early in game. It was not a positive tone, walking the first 3 batters on 18 pitches, and he didn't get the game started. And so we'll have to talk. I know something you brought up the other day. Will he even make a playoff rotation? So there's a lot to discuss. And you brought up Kyle Tucker. We discussed it several times. Was it more than a bone bruise? And apparently it was.
Yeah, apparently it was. Apparently the Astros continue to, have egg on their face when it comes to player injuries. And, quite frankly, look, here's the deal. This is just maybe a word of advice for the PR department. Like, if you don't want to tell us what it is, just say we're not sure what it is. It's an undisclosed injury, and
it's a flesh wound.
They just need to say, like, they don't know what it is. Okay. But it's just, that is, and maybe it's something we need to deal with in the offseason, because that's not something I want to spend a whole lot of time on. A lot of people said, oh, he has a fracture. Maybe he has a break. Well, I was like, I don't know. They haven't said that. I think they would have told us if that. Well, it's just one of those things where all I know is he's supposed to be coming back Wednesday, and that's really all I care about. And I hope when he comes back that he doesn't struggle, because the one person that is struggling on this team and this pitching staff is Justin Verlander, the stalwart veteran, the first ballot Hall of Famer, the guy that just tied or passed Max Scherzer in all-time strikeouts. And you know what? Right now, that's not his concern. That's not the Astros' concern. That shouldn't even be what we as fans care about. We should care about Justin Verlander getting right. And when you look at his player breakdown today, he did have 9 swings and misses, Eric, but he, again, it was a start that left a lot to be desired today, and you need more out of Justin Verlander. He threw 107. Wow. It felt like 170 pitches. He threw 107 pitches and 58 were strikes. So you want that to be a higher clip. I know there were some bad calls by the umpire today, but you can't start the game off being down 2-0. Now, with that being said, Eric, the Astros came back and they answered. And, we need to give Diaz some props, because he was the result. He was the reason they had 3 runs today in the game. Nobody else really. But it was just one of those games where you look at this and you wonder, is Justin Verlander, I think he's going to make the roster. I don't think there's any scenario where he's left off the roster, even in a short series. But is there a person in the building that would be willing to tell Justin Verlander, if he doesn't turn it around, hey, we got 4 other guys that are killing it right now. We feel like you might hinder us. I don't know if they would tell him that, but you know what I'm saying? We know baseball is about pecking order. We know baseball is about seniority. We know the unwritten rules of baseball. We know Espada's regimented approach to people in certain positions. I just think there needs to be a real conversation had in this clubhouse. If Justin Verlander stays doing what he's doing, then it definitely needs to be a question of whether he needs to be a starter in the first series. Now, if he improves and he wipes the slate clean and he gets better, then there's nothing you can say. You put him in there. But I definitely wouldn't have him be my game 1 starter in a playoff series at this point.
Well, if you're looking at since Verlander returned from IL on 8/21, he's in 3 starts. He's given up 11 earned runs and 14 2/3 innings. He has a 6.75 ERA. So that's raised his ERA. The other 5 starters in that span have given up 10 earned runs in 62 1/3 innings with a 4.44 ERA in 10 starts. So the Astros have the other starters have done. They've just been like unbeatable at this point.
And it's a lot better, lot better.
Right. So it's hard to compare them right now. Verlander's like they haven't missed a beat. Verlander's trying to work his way back. So what Verlander has to do at this point is find his rhythm, find his mechanics, find something that makes Verlander who he is. So we always say spring training is about not for the veterans to kind of just find out to get ready for the regular season. So Justin Verlander needs to treat this like spring training. And I know the Astros have a 6 or 5 game lead. I haven't seen what the Mariners did today, but the Astros Verlander just needs to go out there and figure it out. He is auditioning for the playoffs. And when you see all the other starters out there and then them saying that Ronel Blanco may be going to the bullpen temporarily just to kind of rest his innings or something, but they're not going to remove Justin Verlander from the rotation right now. They're going to give him every chance to right the ship because in the playoffs, you need somebody with his pedigree, everything. Yes, I know that he's not the same guy, but they will give him a chance. Like you said, they're going to give him a chance to see what he can do. And if he continues to falter, then they'll go ahead and give it to somebody else, pass the baton. But at this point, it's hard to say, yes, I think that Justin Verlander is going to be off this roster or out of this rotation because of who he is.
Right. No, and that's where that right there is where this conversation begins and where it ends.
Right.
So 2 scenarios. I think there's 2 different possibilities. There may be 2 possibilities in one outcome. I think if outcome A happens and he corrects it and he's good, I throw him in there. He's one of my 4 starters. But if he goes out there and he continues to not do this, to give up runs, to not win, to not be dominant, look, this wasn't a case where the offense didn't back him up. He gave up 5 runs, okay?
Right.
And so if that second scenario happens, I would like there to be an alternate universe where the Astros go, well, Justin, I don't know. We can't have you as a starter, but we're having the bullpen. But then again, I don't think that outcome happens with this regime, with this coach. Eric, it just doesn't happen. Right now, as we speak, it's 4-4 in the bottom of the 9th in Oakland, Oakland and Seattle. So they're tied. And looks like they're probably going to go to extras in Oakland. But regardless, the Astros will either be 6 games up or 5 games up at the end of the day going into tomorrow, because right now it's 5.5 because they lost today. But we can't worry about that. We can't scoreboard watch. So
Hey, Brett, before we move on, I do want to add one more caveat to the Justin Verlander discussion. He is no longer going to be under contract for the next season for 2025. Right. So if you remove him from the playoffs, that is going to be a big hit to his confidence, and that's going to be whatever. So basically, if you do that, you are saying to Justin Verlander, we don't need you on this team anymore.
Well, I'm not saying What about saying the roster? I'm saying just as a starter. I'm not saying remove
You're not
him.
going to put him in the bullpen, though.
If Justin Verlander is 0-8 going into the playoffs and he's given up 34 runs, there's no way he deserves to be.
Well, I'm just saying there's an additional factor you got to take in consideration is the fact that the Astros are also going to be recruiting him. So, yes, they're going to do what's best for the Astros, but at the same time, he is Justin Verlander.
You still think they recruit him after this year, after he doesn't reach his innings threshold, after he comes off the IL for a second time, and if, I'm saying if, and I'm being extremely negative here, if he ends the season bad, I don't want any part of Justin Verlander next year. I'm sorry.
Okay.
No offense, Justin Verlander. You're going to be 42. I love Justin Verlander. I respect the hell out of him. What he's done in Houston, he helped bring the first World Series to Houston. But if he is who he is now and he's not going to get any better, hey, Justin, go put on another ball cap because we don't have time for you. We got enough pitchers here that are coming back off of IL that I definitely would rather see pitch next year. That's if he does not pick things up and if he doesn't improve.
All right, guys, we'll continue this conversation next. Thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day.
This episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app today and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for you easier. That's right. Your favorite live event without the fluff, without having to search through thousands of tickets. You get to go straight to the seats you want and the deals you need. That's right. The app features are really unstoppable and they're unbeatable because it has the lowest price guaranteed. The all-in pricing will show you what it costs. You don't have to get the ticket months in advance. Get it the day of the game, walking up to the stadium. That's what I do. And for someone with a busy lifestyle, you don't have to thumb through your email. You go right to the app. And if you find a ticket in the same row in the same section for a cheaper price, they will credit you 110% the difference. So right now, I need you to take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create the account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. For $20 off, use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. What time is it? Game time.
Hey guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day, whether it's on YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe to us. Go and make us your first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Go and check out the Locked On Astros podcast. Go and check out Michael Connor with the Locked On Astros podcast as well. And I've seen a lot of people saying, well, Verlander is done. How many, I'm not calling you out, guys, but how many of y'all early in the season said the Astros were done? And look where they are. With somebody of his age, you have to give him some time to get in his groove. I'm not defending Justin Verlander. I'm just saying he's got to have a couple more than just 3 starts before he shows who he's going to be at the playoffs. And so the same people are going to be saying, oh, yeah, the Astros need to bring him back because you have to look at his leadership ability, what he does for the young pitching, what he does for Hunter Brown, what he does for Spencer Arrighetti. There's that part of it, too. So I don't think the Astros are going to go out there and sign him for a 3-year deal, but if it's a 1-year incentive laden deal at this point of his career, that's something the Astros might consider. But who knows if the Astros then manipulate this at some degree with him being out this long, just so he didn't reach the 140 inning threshold this year.
Okay, hold on. You just went from they're going to sign him with a stipulated contract to
I'm just kidding.
Okay, so here's the deal. Let's just lay this to rest. Justin Verlander, if he improves and comes back.
Okay, what am I lying about? Like this guy on here saying that I'm drinking Kool-Aid. I'm saying if he shows improvement, you're going to want him back on his team. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, they look, we can all have different opinions here. Okay. I wouldn't get offended by that. Don't worry about it. He's just talking. Okay. Look, and we're talking here, but here's the thing with Justin Verlander, I do not want to have to worry about navigating another season with an old pitcher who gets hurt and neck stiffness and gets hurt throughout the season when he's going to command a $20+ million of this salary. I still have Framber Valdez that I got to consider signing, who has really manned up this year. I've got to look long-term I've got to look, what is it going to take to get Tucker? Are we going to get him in the offseason extended? Just all these different factors. There is a lot of money coming off the books, but at the end of the day, I think Justin Verlander, unless you can assure that he's going to contribute from beginning to end,
incentive laden contract.
I know. I don't see them. I don't see the value in bringing him back, because look at who you got. You can re-sign Kikuchi. He has been nails. The Astros have won every game that he's pitched. He's vastly improved just by switching uniforms. You have Spencer Arrighetti, who's pitching out of his mind. Ronel Blanco will be way better next year. You got Christian Javier coming back. You got Garcia coming back. You got Urquidy coming back. You've got reinforcements in this. So I think there's a case to be made both ways. But as it stands, what I've gotten out of Justin Verlander this year, he's not worth it. I need to move on from Justin Verlander. Justin Verlander contributed to 2 World Series. That is not a slight on Justin Verlander. That is not any disrespect. I just think the time and the writing is on the wall. He has dwindled, and he continues to dwindle. Now, if he catches fire and helps us win a World Series, then good job, JV. You deserve all the credit, because you deserve that kind of credit. And no one's more frustrated than Justin Verlander. So the fans can be here upset, but I promise you he is frustrated. So Kyle Tucker, dude, you and I have talked about this. Well, is it fractured? Is it broken? I'm like, well, there's no way it's fractured, because they keep saying it's a bone bruise. I even looked into bone bruises. There's a legitimate case to be made that, hey, it's a bone bruise. Well, now, he fractured his shin. And are the Astros not being honest with us, or are the Astros saying too much? I think sometimes the Astros say too much, and then it makes it appear as if they're deflecting, denying, and flat out lying sometimes, if I'm being real honest.
Right. So I don't know if they really thought it was that bad. I think from what it sounds like, either they're not telling us all the truth still, but from what we know is that they've recently had some MRIs done, and it showed that there was a shin fracture, and that with time it healed. And so the Astros now suspect that Kyle Tucker sustained a fracture to his right shin in June. Dana Brown said, and in this article by Chandler Rome, basically he had a whole bunch of surgeons or physicians. He said that a bone bruise is almost a microfracture of the inside of the bone. And they also said that it takes about 3 months for a bone bruise to heal. This is officially 3 months if he comes back on Wednesday. So whether the Astros knew about it or not, maybe they thought that it was just a bone bruise, but he was on cast. I mean, he was on crutches for 7 days, and then the soreness was still there. And whether they had MRIs back then or whatever, but they said it wasn't something that we saw from the initial imaging on Tucker's shin. So it was just something that they kind of saw recently, where they saw that there is evidence of a potential fracture of the shin. So whether they knew or not, I don't know. But
so that's where I'm confused, Eric. And I mean, I know you're sitting there explaining it, but I'm still trying to wrap my mind around this quadratic equation that is the Kyle Tucker injury. Okay.
Right.
I hate math. That's why I let people do it for me on Baseball Reference. So I don't figure out OPSs on my own. So did they just figure out that it was fractured because they went through multiple imaging now? Were they assuming it wasn't broken, so they didn't do imaging? Like, do you see what I'm saying? Right. The problem here is in the messaging. And I just am baffled that organizations like the Houston Astros or any professional team, how can you fumble communication? Now, if you're not going to tell us what it is, don't pee on our leg and call it rain. If you're not going to tell us what it is, they say, you know what? He has an undisclosed injury, and leave it at that. When Dusty was here, he did it too much. He talked too much. Dana Brown has talked too much about this, and that's what's frustrating, because now whenever an injury comes up, I honestly am not going to be able to believe anything they say. So this is an important thing when it comes from someone like your favorite team and your what was supposed to be an MVP candidate. Do you see what I'm saying? The
Right.
public perception is always reality in business. So if the public perceives that your business is crap or you do a horrible job, you got to fix that. It may not be crap, but perception is reality. And to me, perception is the Astros are playing coy again. The Astros aren't really telling or didn't tell the truth. I'm just confused by the whole thing. At the end of the day, I just want Kyle Tucker back. But it is frustrating because we've literally had this conversation over and over and over. And I've deflected. Oh, there's no way it's a break. They would have told us he would have been in a cast. Then again, I don't know. Like
Maybe they really did not know. So we don't really know. They're not going to come out and tell us officially what happened. And so they said, Tucker said that we did a lot of imaging and a lot of MRIs and stuff leading up to that point. That's why we just did the imaging and stuff. Just make sure you're not trying to miss something. If something does pop up, you try to get as much as possible. In my mind, the timeline is what is. Regardless, I was just worried about rehab and trying to get back play as soon as possible, and rather than questioning anything. So he said, I think we did a pretty good job of rehabbing it regardless. Time-wise, it's been roughly about the same. Obviously, you never know, but it is what it is at the time. I think the rehab process has gone pretty well. I feel really good right now. Just excited to get back out there. So there's we'll talk about what Joe Espada said about Tucker possibly returning next.
Gentlemen, start your engines. That's right. The NFL season is upon us, and you've heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we have something a little different for you, especially our NFL fans. We know you're fans of Locked On Astros, but now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial on NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube or YouTube TV. Then with YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account, a current form of payment, and you can cancel it anytime. There's no contracts or anything. So why not visit FanDuel.com and download the app for America's #1 sportsbook? Next up, the Houston Texans. Let's go Texans.
Guys, thank you for making Locked On Astros podcast your first listen every day. Whether it's on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to us. Make us first listen on Apple, Odyssey, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast. Go and check out the Locked On Astros podcast. And yes, the A's, one of the worst teams in baseball, did beat the Mariners. So Seattle fans are celebrating in the streets another loss. And the Astros maintained their
Seattle fans. You're such a jerk. That is, Eric, I do not support that to a team that is hurting. I'm joking.
But no, I feel actually bad for the Mariners because they had such a great team. Then all of a sudden it just falls apart. I mean, I'm glad as an Astros fan, but we've been there. Like we saw how bad the Astros got, how bad a season they started. Then to be where they are, it's amazing. And my friend Amory sent me a text earlier, and it had basically what the Astros records has been since since May 1st. The Astros have the best record in baseball since, this was not including today's game, but best record in baseball. This is not the American League. This is not the National League. This is baseball. With 65-43 in that time. Only that the Dodgers 63-42, the Padres 63-43, Diamondbacks 63-43, the Phillies 61-45. Do you see where I'm going with this? The Brewers 62-46. There's another team that's finally coming in pictures, the Yankees at 60-46. So the Astros have the best record in the American League since that time. And you have all these National League teams that got hot.
Oakland is in there too. I mean, the A's.
Well, not in this list, but I think in the list you're saying.
Yeah. The A's have been. So look, man, they're playing the Mariners. The Mariners can't get out of their own way. And I think if the Astros come back and win these next couple games, Eric, win the series, I think you have the Astros with a 7 to 8 game possible lead coming out of, and then they come back home, which is kind of cool for 3 games. But look, Bregman's out again. I got a quote from Joe Espada here on Alex Bregman. But did you want to finish up the thing on Tucker, or are we good there?
No, I think that they're gonna see how he feels on Wednesday. But
Right.
basically, Joe Espada said there's a possibility that we can get him out on the field pretty soon. But what he did today, it's just cleared a lot of boxes, checked a lot of boxes, and things that we wanted him to do. But this will be something that you don't normally see the Astros do,
Right.
especially with him being out for almost 3 months. No rehab assignment. And I think that shows that the Astros just, A, they need him in the lineup, and B, they just feel like maybe playing him at DH, that'll give him some at bats. And he's been facing live pitching, so it's not like he's coming in cold. But I don't expect the same Kyle Tucker, like I said yesterday. It's going to take some time for him to adjust to big league pitching again, because it's not like the Reds are going to be like, oh, it's Kyle Tucker. He's just coming back from being off for 3 months. So let's go and take it easy on a fella.
Right. So here's what Espada said about Alex Bregman. That soreness is still lingering. The swelling has come down, most of it. So I think today, giving him an extra day just to get some treatment, do some work in the cages. The off day tomorrow will be beneficial for him also. So he's still day to day. So we'll see. Look, honestly, right now, for what we have in the lineup, for how this lineup is performing overall in most cases, there is no need for Bregman with any soreness to come into the game. And I'll just say this, there's no need to bring Kyle Tucker into a game unless he can play the field and hit. I don't want 80% Tucker. I don't want 85% Tucker. I want Tucker only if he can hit and if he can field. I think that would be the most prudent thing for the Houston Astros to do going forward, Eric. Because at first I was like, let's just have him DH. And I was talking to Mike about it, former major league player. And he says, no, he goes, as a player and as a club, you want him out there on the field only if he can do all the duties. And I was like, you know what? That makes a lot of sense.
So we'll see what the Astros officially do. Somebody said in the chat who gets sent down. It's probably going to be DeZenzo at this point. You have Dubon and Singleton's been, Well, Chaz is going to be going down anyway because Myers is on paternity leave.
Right.
So I'm pretty sure Chaz McCormick's going to be going down, option down anyway. But I've seen a lot of people. We had Whitley come up and he actually pitched well today. He did have one walk, but he struck out 3 batters. And I've seen a lot of people saying, well, Justin Verlander, he struggled today. I think the Astros should go ahead and start Forrest Whitley instead of Verlander. Okay. You need to understand something. You have 24 games left in the season. You do not have enough time to stretch out Forrest Whitley, and you're not going to remove Justin Verlander for Forrest Whitley. This is a guy that it's taken 7 years to get here. You're not going to just remove him like that. And you're not going to, so I think that putting him in the starting rotation is not even an option. The Astros have him in the bullpen because of what you saw today. He can come in, bring in a high octane and just strike out batters. And that's what the Astros need at this point. Do not try to stretch him out. This is not even a good idea. He's not even an option for a long relief. He's coming in to pitch 1, maybe 2 innings. That's it. You cannot stretch him out at this point. It's too much to ask for the kid.
No, that would be, no offense, but if that's someone's overarching understanding of what we should do with Forrest Whitley, you've got to gain a better grasp of baseball. And I don't ever profess to know everything. And there are times when I misspeak. There are times when I miss things because I don't know it all. But I'm also, even if I did, I'm not gonna be one of these baseball savants who talk down to people because they don't know as much as they do. I just think that's a really lame angle to take with baseball. It's a sport, it's an entertainment. But Forrest Whitley, you keep him in where he went in. And you know what? Yeah, he walked a guy. He had 3 strikeouts, dude. Like when he realized he got his first strikeout in the game, his first major league strikeout, boom, 2 more strikeouts. He struck out 3 batters in 1 inning. And that's what you need. Forrest Whitley's motivated. I've chatted with him off the record, and he said he's ready. He's focused. He's excited to get it. He's excited to be with the big club. He was excited when they gave him a call the day before. So he just was glad to be in the building, and he was glad to contribute tonight. It just stinks that he couldn't contribute when the team was winning, but he'll get his chance. Forrest is going to do, I think, a very good job. There's not a lot of tape on him, clubs aren't familiar with them. He's changed from where he was originally, so he depends on different things. The dude still throws gas. The dude still throws upper 90s. And if he can get those heaters past, establish that fastball, he can bring in that hook and get guys out in front and get some, miss some barrels and be very beneficial for this club that has a lot of guys in the bullpen that are very, very tired.
Yes, and Kyle Orts, his name's Kyle or Orts.
Caleb Ort. No, it's Caleb.
Okay, Caleb Orts' velocity was down a little bit. That was a little bit noticeable in today's game. But this game was a little bit out of control. Verlander only 4 2/3 innings pitched. He allowed the 5 runs. He allowed a whole bunch of walks. It just wasn't his game. The Astros just could not recover from that bad start. When you allow 3 walks in the first inning and just don't have that put away stuff yet, it's just not much they can do. So you're right. The Astros do need to decide at some point what they're going to do for Justin Verlander. But to say he's not going to be playoffs right now, I think it's a little too soon. Now, if he continues to do like this, then yes, I can see them making some type of move. But the Astros are still 75-63. They have a 6-game lead over the Mariners. Things are still looking up. This is one loss. They went 7-4 in that brutal stretch against some great teams. So one loss, I'm not too worried about. I hate losing to these teams below 500, and that's what the Reds are. And especially when you had some guy, I think this was supposed to be a bullpen by committee type of game, and unfortunately the Astros just didn't have enough. So especially with that bad play by De La Cruz and India in the first inning. So any closing thoughts, Brett?
No, man, it's just a game you got to put behind you. Come back after the day of rest and beat the Reds in the next 2. Come home winners of another series and expand that lead against Seattle.
All right, guys, we'll see you later. And that's all we got for this edition of Locked On Astros. My name's Eric Huysman. He is Brett Chancey. We'll see you tomorrow. Go Astros.